Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be doing a trailer breakdown for the new film that will be hitting theaters this December, Monster Hunter, the movie. Now, this is based off the popular series of games. As for ones that I played, I've actually played Monster Hunter World. I really did enjoy that game. It was fun. It was challenging. I like the different monsters, the different weapons, the different ways to kind of approach things. The fact you can play with your friends and stuff. It's a really, really fun little game. I shouldn't say little. It's a very big game, but it's a very fun game. But comparing it to what we see in the trailer, now it is fair to note that the director, Paul W.S. Anderson, who also cast, of course, because he always does this, he cast his wife as the lead in this film, Milla Jovovich, and she basically. The movie is kind of what you expect, at least from what we can tell from the trailers. But the thing is that he's it is probably easier to go into it because the thing is that this does commit the cardinal sin of trailers to an extent. It gives away a lot of the plot in the actual trailer, so you can kind of see the progression of the film. They don't really split it up all that much or try to give you segments from different areas, but I'll go into that as we get into the actual trailer. But diving in, we start off with basically there's this military convoy. It looks like Milla Jovovich is either the head of it, so she's the commanding officer, or maybe she's a second in command or something like that. But basically, they're in this Humvee, and they have this recording that's from another unit that was apparently in the same area, and they're talking about like this thing opening in the sky and then nothing. So they all go to this area and they find these little pylons that are all around, and they're not really sure what they do. There's a few little 80-yard lines or little voiceover lines that are over that scene, but you can tell very much that they were ripped from other portions of the film to try and give you an aspect. So maybe the sound editor can do a little bit of a better job at that, but that's just me. And then all of these things get struck by lightning in this massive storm, and this portal or something opens up and basically swallows all of them, or swallows most of them. Some of them, I guess, die or things happen because it's a very rough transfer, and then they wind up in the Monster Hunter world. So that's not something that's necessarily, I wouldn't say necessarily out of the ordinary, I guess, for Monster Hunter, because it has happened. They had like this whole Witcher DLC for Monster Hunter World where Geralt comes into the world through a portal. So I guess if you want to take that as canon, then yeah, people can enter into the Monster Hunter world through various types of portals and stuff. But in this, they wind up in this desert that's littered with monster bones, which, again, great visual, kind of similar to the games. And then we see the first monster, and that's the thing that I actually really liked about the trailer, is that they showcased the monsters, or at least a couple of the monsters, I should say. Probably like 3 or 4 different kinds, which I thought was a good touch. It shouldn't just be a thing where you go through with this one monster. And the thing that they actually find is a Diablos, and those things are ridiculously hard to kill in the game. They're one of the tougher monsters, and this huge thing comes up from the sand, again, just like the game, because they kind of burrow under the sand. Comes up from the sand and then starts attacking the convoy. And we see it like there's a point in the trailer too where they splice in a scene with it where it picks up this Humvee and chucks it. It's basically they're almost like toys to it, which again makes a lot of sense considering Monster Hunter, because the monsters are fairly large. They got the size scale pretty close to what it probably actually is in the games. But then we move forward and we actually get this other character who I believe is played by Tony Jaa, and he is he's a character who lives in the Monster Hunter world, so he's an actual monster hunter. He carries some of those types of weapons. We see him at one point use like a bone bow to shoot an arrow at the Diablos. We also see at a point that he has this kind of big like bone sword, like this Buster sword thing that's massive. So, they're going a little bit closer to the game with that, which I like. The aesthetic of them, too, seems to match pretty close with the games to an extent. And then we start going into this other stuff where now that they're there, the whole idea for them is how do we get back? So it's kind of like a little bit like a Stargate type of thing, where like now we're here in this world, but now we have to find our way back. So now they have to go somehow get back to that area, which it seems like they've been chased off by monsters to some extent. They don't reveal if there's any kind of malevolent force or anything controlling the monsters, which I hope there is, and I hope they don't have some kind of stupid big reveal in there. I hope it's just the monsters, and maybe there's just one of them that kind of has a hard on for them and is hunting them. But Milla Jovovich kind of has the center stage, which you would expect with a movie like this. She gets these twin set of daggers, which again look a lot like the ones you can get in the video game. It appears they have abilities as well, because they light up. She puts them together and they kind of light up like red, and then she can slice through like armor and stuff on various kind of monsters. So that's kind of interesting, even though those daggers are kind of small enough where it feels like they probably wouldn't do a lot of damage. At least they're kind of accurate to the game to an extent. But basically, then we go through this whole series of action montages. We see them fighting these giant spiders. We see this very large shot of all these kind of pachyderm type of animals or lizard things drinking from a body of water. It's like a lagoon. Eventually, we also see a Rathalos that comes up a few times, especially near the end of the trailer. Now, Paul W.S. Anderson actually came out and said that this is like a great Rathalos. This is a special kind of Rathalos, which means basically that they revealed that this is the main villain of the film, basically, or the main monster they're trying to kill, or their big hurdle. You know, it's not the Diablos, it's this thing, which I think they should have kept that under wraps until the movie was going to come out, because again, it's not due to come out until actually December. But I think they should have kept that under wraps. I think that they probably should have let people believe that the Diablos was going to be the main monster they were going to fight. Maybe have a couple little scenes where you see a Rathalos, but maybe it's not as apparent as they're making it. In addition to the fact that he also came out with that press statement. But basically, then it shows that they have to work their way through this world somehow, and then try and get out on the other side, try and leave, try and escape. To go back to their world, and it appears that Tony Jaa is going to help them along the way, or at least Milla Jovovich is going to help her. And then there's basically we don't really see anything aside from those things, but that's a lot of monster shots, especially for a trailer. Now, what I hope is that those are not the only monster shots of the movie, because if that's the case, if they just jam them all in the trailer, then shame on the advertising department for that. But if they're not, the character models are actually pretty good. I don't think the CGI is really bad. I think it's definitely. I wouldn't say it's 100% amazing, like blows me away, but I would say it's definitely serviceable. It's not something that I would say is a negative to the film. And like I said, I think they went with the exact character models that you would find in the games, because the Rathalos looks like a Rathalos. The Diablos looks like a Diablos. Some of the spiders and stuff look like stuff you can find in the game. So I don't know. The other thing is, how many other monsters are we going to see in the game that are in the movie that are directly out of the game, which would be another interesting thing, when this actually does come out. But this is not a highbrow movie. I'm not going to pretend it is. It is a dumb action film that is based off of a fairly entertaining video game. I don't think they'll probably go into a lot of the lore with this. It doesn't seem like they're doing that with the trailer. It seems like they're doing kind of the fish out of water thing, where Milla Jovovich and the military team are kind of, they're out of their element, so they're supposed to be kind of the babes in the woods. They're the people that the audience can follow and relate to. And then Tony Jaa is the guy that, he exists in the world already, so he's kind of probably going to be your exposition dump, I would imagine. But, it's, like I said, it gives away the plot, which in a movie like this, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, because the plot is very basic. It's like, okay, this military group gets sucked through a portal into this world. Now they have to get home. There's monsters. They have to kill monsters. Then they have to get home. Pretty straightforward. But like I said, I don't think that necessarily ruins the movie, because it's not a plot-heavy movie to begin with. As for Milla Jovovich as the lead, again, exactly what you'd expect, basically just doing her best Alice impression for this. Nothing too insane. A lot of the other actors, I know I've seen some of them in various things, but I can't place them at the moment. But they're actors that I think people have seen, or people will at least recognize to an extent, even if you don't recognize the name. But, that's just my opinion of the trailer. Like I said, I liked it. I didn't think it was bad. I think it's probably going to be a serviceable film. I'd like to watch it mainly for the monsters. But as usual, I'm going to link that below. But I want to know what you think. Are you excited for the Monster Hunter movie? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be bad? Do you like the fact that Paul Anderson is doing it along with Milla Jovovich? Are you kind of tired of those two, maybe? Or, do you not care? Is Monster Hunter, do you prefer it as a game? Do you not really like the idea of it being a movie? Put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?